Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another one of these solo discussion videos. Last time I talked about the women's top 5 and how worthless I really do think it is, and a lot of you guys seem to really enjoy it. So this time around, I'm making up another topic that I do feel like needs some coverage. The City Finals Tower. The 10th obstacle in the state it's been in for the past 4 years. This is basically just to talk about why the tower is such a joke nowadays and what I think they could do to maybe fix it. But obviously, just like last time, we are going to do a little bit of a history lesson before we get into, the actual fixing and stuff. So, the Tower of the City Finals has been a thing since the very first season of A&W, technically speaking. Back then, it was a very simple cargo net. It was known as the cargo climb, and it was basically just a cargo that you climbed up. It was impossible to fail, and it was like this for 4 years. And, by God, this is the most boring obstacle ever. Like, no one failed it, and I think it's most likely the longest an obstacle has gone without anyone failing it, with it not being taken off the show. This thing lasts until AEW 4. I think you can tell the problems here. Anyway, after that, starting in Season 5, we had the Spider Climb. Now, the Spider Climb was actually at least kind of difficult, but not really. The Spider Climb, depending on your skull sack and your skills and your shoes and stuff, you could have a hard time with it, but it really wasn't too much of a problem for most of the ninjas who took it on. And honestly, I think it was fine for the time. And it was definitely not enough evolution. The real me is when it comes down to seasons 7 and 8 with the introduction of the invisible ladder. Definitely my personal favorite of all these towers. The invisible ladder was a very cool obstacle. You used 2 wings to propel yourself up a chute, up a tower. And this obstacle was freaking deadly. In Season 7, to point of success on the obstacle, we also had many fail it. These are some of the closest fails, including Foot Rodriguez, who got his foot on the landing pad but fell. Just immediately after. Neil Quaver and Jamie Wan, who literally got their legs to the breaking point, but weren't able to make it up. And then there's people like Drew Dressel and stuff, who ended up having to kick their way up, but weren't able to be successful. This obstacle also had a couple of really close fails from people like Joe Moloski and Jason McGrath. The invisible ladder in Season 8 would also be a really good obstacle, taking out a good chunk of people. And no one being able to conquer it during the Philadelphia City Finals, despite 2 people getting to it. Again, it even made an appearance in Team Ninja Warrior on that year's Final Tower. Speaking of Team Ninja, I don't really think we need to talk about Team Ninja. It's like for a topic I want to bring up at the very end when it comes down to fixing the tower. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Anyway, next up we have Season 9 with the introduction of the elevator climb. This obstacle just is straight up too hard. And honestly, this one, unlike the invisible ladder, had a good ratio of clears and falls. This one definitely does not have that ratio. Only 9 people ended up clearing this obstacle. These being Josh Levin, Charlie Andrews, Adam Whale, Sean Bryan, Daniel Gill, Drew Dressel, Jamie Wan, Joe Moloski, and Ian Dory. Only 9 ninjas. Everyone else who ended up attempting the obstacle ended up failing it. And it was never conquered during the Kansas City Finals. So, yeah, this obstacle was really brutal. I was definitely okay with the ratio of City Finals quiz. At least made the City Finals courses a lot more harder. But honestly, it was way too hard. The next season, however, they introduced the current obstacle that remains in the tower to this very day, the Spider Shop, which is a huge downgrade and is practically a gimme at this point in terms of are you going to clear it or not. And the short answer is yes, you are going to clear it. The Spider Shop is really easy, and no one has failed it since season 12. So really this obstacle really should be changed at this point. In my opinion, And yeah, despite, in my opinion, I think it should be replaced with the invisible ladder if it had to be a previous obstacle. Because the invisible ladder, again, had that good ratio of show competitors failing it and completed. I think it worked really well there. And plus, I do feel like it would put some kind of challenge to these younger ninjas, to the teens who are being able to try the course now. But one thing I want to bring up before but another way they could easily fix it was bring on the obstacle, the zigzag climb from Ninja Warrior Ninja vs. from AW Ninja vs. Ninja. Now this would definitely have to be changed, and it was obviously made for a race format. But the obstacle itself, I do feel like could work as a City Finals tower if tweaked a little bit. Obviously, they could easily go for a new obstacle, which would probably be my favorite one for them to do. Honestly, them giving us like a completely new obstacle that at least changes the formula, that I'll be happy about. But considering the fact that the Spider Trap has worked for them since Season 10 and they still haven't bothered to change it, I highly doubt they're going to change it again. I'd really like them to, especially since, no one has failed it in 2 years, but knowing A&W, they're not going to bother. They don't usually do that type of stuff. And, yeah, I really don't think they are. But, anyway, that's really about it for this one. Well, a really short one, but I really just wanted to go through each one of the City Finals Towers and go over what I think about each one and how I think A&W... When I think about each one, what I think A&W could do in order to fix the state that it's actually in. And, yeah, what I really think they should really do. And just the problems along with it at the current state it is in. Anyway, thanks for watching this one. I do appreciate the feedback on the last solo discussion video I made, so wouldn't mind some here as well. And, I do have a plan for my next solo discussion video. Now, I mentioned this back in the podcast, in the most latest podcast episode, depending on when this was released, but I do want to make a solo discussion video talking about Stage 3 and how, mostly about the evolution of it and how the state of it is really sad, and how I really do think that it should get a very huge overhaul in terms of its obstacles. Same with Sasuke as well, actually, but that is besides the point. That is it for this little mini solo discussion video on the City Finals Towers and A&W. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.